a few basics in Webflow before we dive right into design. Webflow looks quite different than some of the other web hosting platforms out there, so let's just go through some of the basics you're going to need to customize this template. As we move down the screen, all of these icons are places we'll navigate to help drive our styling of the site. The first, this little plus button, is where we add elements, so either elements, layouts, or symbols. The next dropdown is our Navigator. This is where we can clearly see all of the information that's on that particular page. There are a few things you can do here. You can expand everything or collapse everything with the click of a button, or you can make this Navigator screen a bit larger or smaller, depending on your preference. Navigation can be done either by using your mouse to select different icons and make them expanded, or if you are very far down, you can also use the bottom nav screen to kind of back out. Okay, so that's the basic Navigator view. Below that, we have Pages. Pages looks very similar to Navigator, just noted with pages. This, as it indicates, shows you all of the static pages on your website. Below that are CMS. We'll be sure to walk through them on their own. The little shopping cart is e-commerce and not covered in this video. Next, we have assets. This, as you might have guessed, is where you would upload your logo, any picture, and any pictures you might have. The assets that are already on this page appear here. So you're going to want to keep them if you're going to use them. You can certainly delete them out, and I'll show you briefly how to do that. First things first, you have a couple of options with how they're viewed. Of course, you have 4 different filtering orders in order how they show up on this main screen, and your default view is this grid view, but that can become cumbersome, especially if you have a lot of pictures. I prefer the list small view. It allows you to see everything very quickly all at once. If you have a lot of things you want to delete, you can do the little pop out, and if you're in grid view, you can see everything here. But again, list small, select all, and then if you want to delete everything, hit delete. If there's only a few items you want to keep, you would just deselect them. Now, a word of caution, if you delete everything and publish your site, if any of these images still remain on your site, they'll come back into your asset panel. So don't be surprised if you delete all these images out and you haven't made any changes to the template. All of those assets will come back in. Documents are available as part of a separate purchase with a platform through Webflow. And Lottie is a bit more advanced, so not covered in this video. Below that, we have our settings. Settings allows you to search and shows you backups. Backups are limited unless you have purchased a plan from Webflow. Moving on down, we have another way to search. This will help you find anything on the screen. It's also a good way to add things like elements, symbols, and those types of objects. Next, we have the little video recorder. This is a great quick link to all of the video tutorials from Webflow. These are all of the basics that you would need if you're having issues working through this tutorial. Start here, and this might be very helpful for you. And finally, at the bottom, we have help and feedback, and then the keyboard shortcuts. Keyboard shortcuts will be a great friend for you if you prefer to work in that manner. Give this a review before you dive in. That is our navigation on the far left. Moving over, we see that at the top it tells us what page we're on. This is another quick link to Pages. Next to that, we have the preview button, this little eyeball. When it's blue, it will show you what your website will look like on that particular screen size. We'll always work starting in desktop and then make adjustments as we need. I'll explain more as we work through, but be sure that you are using your preview button to ensure that everything looks as it should across all screen sizes. Moving to the center of the page, this is where all of your content is stored. So If you want to make any changes, this is where you would do it. And all of your styling appears here. As we kind of scroll over, looking on this page, we have the undo and redo button. They will be your best friend. The changes that are saved when this is checked, your changes were saved. Heads up, automatic saving is already enabled. You also have a share project, which will share just a read-only link if you wanted to have someone, such as me, look at your project while you're working on it. This is the link you would send so that we can get a behind-the-scenes look of what's going on. And next to that, we have Publish. Moving on to the far right, we have the styling panel. So this has a couple of features. The paintbrush is where we do, as it says, styling. Styling in terms of how things are displayed, the coloring, the images, and the spacing. Next, you have this little ID, a gearbox setting. This is different for different items, but you will use most often with links. Links will allow you to link to external, internal, email, and phone. The last two, the raindrops that are Style Manager, show you all of the classes that appear on your entire site. These classes are tied to the style settings you have. So for example, this large heading has unique styling to it. We'll walk through more about this in the style guide, but what you need to know for now is when you're all done with your site, come over to clean up, and if that has any there, you're gonna wanna hit it. It'll remove any styling you're not using. Finally, the little lightning bolt is interactions. I've already built interactions for you on this website, and because they're more advanced than this basic tutorial, we won't be diving into them this time. There you have your general overview of all of the Webflow functions and the second step to building your website. Now we're ready to work on our style guide.